Working a bit more lunging with Castor and desensitizing some leading stuff. So we're going to do some yielding the forequarters or like a turn on the haunches, which is pretty good, not too bad. He probably took a little bit of a step forward, but we're not looking for perfection. We're just looking for the beginnings of it, something that I can reward, the direction of the movement that I want. So we have that part. I ask him to do the same thing the other way. He's anticipating some lunging, so he's gonna leave here on a lunging circle. He backed up really nicely in response to that. I'm just gonna do a little bit of desensitizing to just get him to stand still. Again, he wants to leave on the circle. That's okay. I'm not gonna worry about that too much. So I'm just gonna keep asking him really gently without scaring him or punishing him or anything because he's just confused at what I want right now. And then I'm gonna try and set him up, and then once he does it correctly, I'm gonna click and reward. So he was just thinking about lunging. We've been working on lunging, so he just kind of gets stuck in doing that. So I just gotta be like gentle with him and show him what I want. And but also it's important that I don't just go ahead and be like, oh well, you want to lunge? Okay, let's do that, because he's not gonna learn the cues that I need him to learn, and I need to ask him to do some things sometimes. So but he took a nice step over. He ordered that. We did some yielding the hindquarters. He transitioned nicely to that, to where he didn't just get stuck and think he was doing something else. So I'm really happy with that. Again, do a little bit of desensitizing in between, just like I did in my last video. Just kind of make sure he's okay with that touching his hind legs. And then I would do a little bit more of the lunging here. I'm just going to send him off. Again, he's really responsive to that. And I think that's where he got confused with him moving his shoulders over because that cue looks really, really similar. So he just didn't understand what it was. And now I'm just going to increase the amount of time that he is out on the circle. He's really quite good at yielding his hindquarters and coming and facing me and stopping. So I like all of that. Send him off the other way, like that. And I just kind of bend that rope up a little bit toward his hip, and then he has a nice bend in the circle. That looks great. So I'm just going to extend the amount of time that he's on that lunging circle. And then we want to work on a little bit of trot and kind of just see what he can do and add to his repertoire of behaviors right now. So let him hang out and chew on this for a second, and then we'll go the other way. And I have like a decently long rope, so he has enough like space to move, but not so long that we're gonna get tangled and have too much rope going around because he is still really green and still kind of wild. So I want to make sure I have enough, but not so much that I'm gonna get tangled or anything. And then I do have my gloves on as well. So I'm trying not to put too much pressure on him with my stick here. I'm just kind of trying to guide him. See, he got a little scared there. That's all right. I'm just gonna act like nothing happened, not a big deal. I'm just gonna ask him to go around. But so what I was talking about in my last video too, how I would rather be teaching this with the target now because I'm voicing over this later and I just know more things now. And you can look back and see that he's very tense as he moves right here. He's just worried, and you don't really have all that, or you shouldn't have all that when the horse is moving on the target and following the target. So here, I mean, I like that he's looking at me and he's trying to figure out what I want, but he's very tense this whole entire time. So I don't love that. I don't want for it to be a thing for him to move with tension and keep that in his movement because a lot of horses have that. And that's all they know, and it's going to be a really hard habit to break later on when I want him to be a relaxed riding horse and all he knows is moving with tension. So that's a big deal that I definitely, if I'm going back and doing this over, if I'm getting a new Mustang sometime, I would be definitely just having that horse follow a target. And if I want to bring in the whip at some point in time, I can as a cue, but there really is no point. I can get them on voice cues with the target. So, but I wanted to show the body language, an example of how he moves, and he still does that today. And we're still working on that today and getting him more relaxed. So it's much easier if you just start off good from the beginning than have to do that. So I had to take a break there, get some more treats. I wanted to show him kind of coming off of that pressure. He gets a little stuck and then he goes forward. So I like that. Nothing bad. He's not setting back or anything. I like all of that. I'm just kind of trying to create a bit more space between the two of us. That is also what the mounting block's going to do too. So I'm kind of just holding my hands up and then using my driving whip and just kind of staying to the inside of that mounting block. This looks really good. He's a lot more relaxed. Probably not as much relaxed as I'd like him to be, but better than he started off like just a couple minutes ago in this video. So we have an improvement and we're just increasing the amount of time that he can go around. So he went around a couple laps there and now I'm rewarding him. So he's really progressing nicely. And go the other way. I really like how he follows that feel of the rope and he can go both directions. That's going to be really important when we start steering. I just wanted him to trot and he did trot. Um, I don't love how tense he is. I rather he be more relaxed. And like since I'm adding the food, and I'm gonna desensitize here and just run through that real quick, but since I'm adding the food, that behavior is even stronger. So now I'm having to go like retrain something, and it's like pretty ingrained, and I don't want all that tension in his trot. So that's why I'm trying to make a learning opportunity here. That was actually a really pretty trot. That was really nice, and that was a really nice response to the rope pressure and yielding his hindquarters. I really liked all of that. That was really good. Let him take a minute. Let him eat his reward, and then we'll do a little bit more of the lunging. So I probably say this every video, but it's super important that he has time to just hang out and stand and eat his treat, or even if you're not using food, just have a minute to just sit in between, especially if you're just using negative reinforcement because they need that release of pressure to know exactly what it is that you wanted. So again, my hands are up because I'm trying to get him a little bit further away. So again, I'm going to sound like I'm repeating myself, and I am, but if I had a target, I wouldn't need to be pushing him out so much. He kind of tripped there. He went into the trot, which was an okay trot, and then he just kind of tripped. No big deal. I'm still gonna give him his treat. But when I have the target, I can set the distance that he is away from me because I can have a long pole and he's at the end of that, and then I have whatever many feet is the length of the pole between him and I. So that's just another thing. Like when I go back and watch this, I'm like, oh, of course, that would have been so much easier. Than doing this. And I mean, he did good. There's good things about this, but that's the preferred method that I would go with. So he got a little confused there. So I'm just gonna not like push it with him. I'm like, okay, we'll let him move a little bit. That's a nice try. I like that. And now like he's getting into the trot more consistently. I'm asking him to go from the trot to yielding his hindquarters in the halt. So I really like that. He's looking pretty good there. So refill his treats again, and there was like a minute of him just like standing around, so I cut all that out, and we're just gonna work a little bit more. So I'm asking him to go forward. He's not thrilled about going between me and the mounting block, I'm pretty sure is what this is. I had both Castor and Atlas do this, and they're just like not wanting to come forward. So it might be that, or it might be the angle I'm standing at. So he just came forward for a second, so I'm gonna click and reward that. Doesn't matter if he didn't go all the way through, he's thinking in the right direction. I want to reward that thought. Or it could be just like me, I'm at a kind of a weird angle. I'm not the same angle as I have been when I'm asking him to send out. Or it could be both or something else that I haven't noticed and I'm not aware of. So that's what I'm thinking of at the moment right now. So I'm just going to ask him to go forward a little bit. I don't want this backup, so I'm just going to hold it and I'll just wait and try to, like, I'm not going to stick to, okay, you have to go between me and the thing. I just want him to go forward. So I'm not going to reward him, but I'm not going to, like, get after him or anything like that. I just want that forward from that response of the rope. So I think that it's going to be not wanting to go between me and this mounting block. I mean, I am going the other direction and I am at the same angle, but I think that's what it is because he's just like super reluctant and he does have some space. So I probably should have backed up at this point, like not given him some slack, but made my rope longer and still kept asking for forward, but backed up so he had enough space to go through. Because now he's just worried. He's like, I can't go through there. I can't go through there. And just, I mean, it's good because I'm not escalating. I'm just saying, hey, can you go through here? So there, I took a couple steps back and I'm just asking him to come forward and then letting go. There we go. And just letting him sit for a second and then asking him again. But you can see he's got some calming signals. He's doing a lot of licking. So he took a step forward. I'm going to reward that. But if I would have just backed up and given him a little bit more space, I think it would have been a non-issue. He would have just walked through. So this part, I would have definitely given him more time and more space to just let him go through. It's not, there we go. It's not the end of the world. And he walked through really nicely. So, I mean, really how he handled it was not bad. He was just saying, oh, I can't do it. I can't do it. And I was like, no, you're all right. And I just kept asking gently without getting him over threshold. That's the biggest thing. I don't want him to become more worried. I don't want to leave the situation altogether and be like, well, let's do something else. I want to work on it and work through it, but I don't want to put too much pressure on him. I want him to still remain successful. So that's kind of what I was trying to do there. So I'm going to send him through again. And now that he's gone through once, which is the way most of it is, most of the time it works, he's now fine and he can go right through. So I like that. And he seems pretty relaxed. He seems like he might want to trot when he's by the fence, and that just might be like he feels a little claustrophobic on that side, just like he did originally when he was going between me and the block. Or, I mean, I have been rewarding the trot too, so it could just be he wants to show me that behavior because it's been rewarded in the past. But I just want to remain calm and steady, and I want to make sure that he walks through it, relax, and I'm going to reward him for that too. So, and it's important that he can go between me and like tight spaces so that he can go in the trailer, he can go in a stall, he can go through different size gates, things like that. It's just really important, and it builds on this lesson builds onto other ones. They're all stepping stones to somewhere else. That was actually really quite nice. And I liked how slow and relaxed he was there. So he didn't try to trot through, and he didn't try to balk and not go forward. He just went through and then responded really well. So I like that. So I don't need to drill that forever. I just want to kind of play with that and make sure he's okay with doing different things. Like here, he's getting stuck. He's like, okay, well, we've been doing that, so I want to go back that way. Not a big deal. I'm just going to say, hey, we're going to go this way. So I want to touch him with the stick while he's moving. So now that he's gotten some lunging in, I want him to lunge around me while the stick's on him. So I want him to feel like my touch while he's moving, because that's kind of the first step for like riding and stuff like that. Before I even put like a pad or saddle or something on him, is that he can feel that and move, because it's a weird like sensation, because he's used to moving around me, but now he's not used to feeling something while he's moving. So I want to add that in. So I'm trying to get him to walk on and then just lay that whip kind of like on his withers. And that's what we're trying to do here. And every time he feels it, he's just stopping, which is not bad. I'd like him to walk on. I'm just going to ask him again. There. And then he took one step while it was on his withers. So I'm going to click that and reward him. So it's just something different. I do this with all of them. I want to make sure that they're okay with feeling some movement while they're moving, because a horse while it's moving and a horse standing still are two different things. So like when you've desensitized your horse to stuff when he's standing still and then when he's moving, it can be completely different horse. And a lot of the times that can be because just in traditional training or natural horsemanship training is because the horse is shutting down when they're standing still and they're just saying like, oh, no, nothing's going on, I'm fine. They're kind of in their little hole. But when you make them move, they kind of snap out of it a little bit and they're like, oh my goodness, that was terrifying. And you see that spook reaction. So sometimes it's just different. Like it's just scarier. It's just different when you're moving versus when they're staying still, but it can be from a horse that's shut down as well. So it's just something to look out for. So I'm asking him to go forward. He's like, not so sure. And because I've rewarded him in the past for standing still when I touch him with the whip. So he's just thinking that's what he's supposed to do. So he's just a little confused. And it's not a big deal. So just ask him to go forward. I'm just going to be a little persistent, not anything crazy, and I'm not going to chase after him. There we go. That was really nice. He took like 2 or 3 steps forward. I really like that. He's trying, he's figuring it out. There's a lot of thinking going on in his part today because he had to figure out a lot of new things that he hasn't had to do before. Same thing, we're going the other way, and he just wants to stop, and that's okay. Not gonna freak out or anything. I'm just gonna rub him a little bit, and then I just send him back off. And it might help if I kind of walk with him on a circle so it looks more like I'm leading and he's like getting the cue that, oh, I'm being led. So I should go forward, but it's not a big deal. We can do it from lunging as well. Kind of gives me a little bit better view when I'm lunging. I can kind of see him a little bit better if you were to get super worried. But I mean, try something with your horse if they're having that problem. There we go. So he takes a couple steps. I should have clicked a little bit sooner there, because he figured that out within a few steps. So reward that. Let him hang out here for a second, and then we'll work on that a little bit more. But I really like that exercise. I start with the driving whip because it has that short lash on it. And then I'll move on to like the lunge whip because it's got a longer one, and then I can move it all around their body and I can toss it over their withers, and they'll have something on the outside of that circle. That's why I'm doing the driving whip with the short lashes. I don't want to like toss that lash over his withers and he sees a lot of like line or rope or whatever on that other side and wants to run toward me. So that's why we're doing that. So I just ended and took off his halter. I cut that out because it's the same every time. I just unclipped the lead rope and then I took the halter off. But I wanted to show a quick clip of him being fly sprayed. So he's outside of protective contact. He knows to stand next to the mounting block and he's doing excellent with being fly sprayed. So that has, oh, well, I guess I didn't take the halter off, but I had unclipped him. But he's done great with all of the fly spraying stuff. So that's like my biggest thing was start right from the beginning. And at the time that I was training them, like I didn't do some things that I wouldn't do now. So like I would change some things different, like that trot movement. I have some tension in there that I have to get rid of now. The one thing I wouldn't change though is the fly spray because he's excellent at fly spray. Both of them are excellent. I don't ever have a problem. They're fantastic. Same thing with being bathed, like they're great. So I like that they got started right from the beginning, and now we don't have any problems, and we don't have to backtrack or fix anything because it was always been good and positive experience for them. So I wanted to show his progress and kind of say how important that was. But I'm just going to give him a little jackpot on the mounting block and end the session for today.